welcome to What the Fuck Sutter number 8. Just want to begin. There was a guy on Twitter who was complaining that I was taking too long to answer these questions. I was stammering and taking too many long pauses, and fuck that guy. Here we go. First question is from Chris Underwood, who does not... Yes, he is. Chris says, Kurt, I'm writing from Oklahoma, and my question deals with the book of John Teller. I was wondering if you had written out the entire book or only wrote passages of it to fit into the story arc. I thoroughly enjoyed the snippets we got from it during the show and would love it if you had the entire work completed and available for purchase at some point in the future. It's a question I get a lot, Chris. The truth is this, and I've said this before, is that I have a sense of what's in that book and what John Teller was writing about, and thematically we talk about that on the show. But I've not written out the book, quite frankly, because I just don't have the time to write a novel in the off season, and also because, as you know, as you astutely put it, that we use snippets of it in story arcs to thematically underscore what was going on, and we used it a lot in the first season, and for me it became a little bit too much of a device season 1, so I sort of backed off at season 2 a little bit, and with everything that Jax was going on with Jax, we didn't use it quite as much. And then in season 3, obviously, it was about revealing more about who John Teller was as a man and his backstory. And season 4, there's echoes of it as well. But I really do, my sense is that what I will probably do is, as the show winds down, I really would like to sort of sit down, and even if I sat down with somebody to co-write it, because I've not ever written, straight up, fiction like that. So I would probably sit down with a co-writer and work with somebody that was obviously had some sense of what the show was, and I actually do want to try to generate that as perhaps after the show's over, and to be able to give it to fans, and that way I feel like there's a part of me that I don't want to do it before that, because if there's information that we include in the book that ultimately gets out to fans that we're not able to pay off, or somehow I decide I wanted to change something. So if I did it, I would probably wait till the series was hopefully was able to run its course and then release it. But I get that question a lot. Let's do one more. This is from Beth. Hey Kurt, love your show. Without a doubt the best thing on the tube today, hands down. My question is, how do you select or even find the music for the individual scenes in the show? I have discovered great music that I would not otherwise would have on my iPod now, were it not for SOA. For example, Fly Low, Carrion Crow by the Two Gallants. The Two Gallants is on my favorite playlist now. I had never heard of that band before, and SOA has turned me on to albums all the time. There are other examples, but I won't blather on. Hats off to whomever selects the music. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your amazing show. Much success, Beth. The music for the show, I have a great music producer and composer, Bob Field Jr., and I've actually known Bob for a while. He's produced Katie's 2 albums, and just a really talented cat. When I came into this project, I knew that music was going to be an integral part of the show, and wanted to be able to work with somebody who wasn't just picking songs in terms of needle drops, but who could actually wrap his brain around some composition, and I had a sense of really wanting to do a lot of covers So how it usually works is, you know, in some of the bigger montage scenes, I'll have a sense of what I want the song to be, and sometimes that's a specific song, in which I'll say to Bob, hey, this is what I want to do, let's do a cover of it. Sometimes I'll just have a sense of what it should be, and I'll ask Bob for suggestions, so Bob will send me a bunch of music, and I'll make my choices. But for you know, for the rest of the music in the show that we have that just plays, whether it's in, not necessarily in the big montage scenes, but is you know, is present in throughout the episodes, that's really you know, Bob making those choices. And yeah, we've sort of come up with a little bit of a signature for the show, and it's, you know, it's really that callback to that 60s and 70s great rock and roll. And we do covers of those, whether it's, you know, a lot of Creedence, some Stones. You know, I really want to play with some little bit of Van Morrison this season. You know, but we also tap into some of these new bands that have, you know, some of that rock, soul vibe, you know, and you know, from the Black Keys to, you know, bands like the Tarbox Ramblers, and you know, like when we first started using the Keys, like nobody had ever heard of them, and you know, and obviously not because of our show, but you know, they're an awesome fucking band, and they've blown up, and it's actually, we actually can't afford them anymore. But you know, so it's fun to sort of go out and for me musically to continue to expand my horizons, and find some, as Beth said, just find some great music. But music is really part of my process. I listen to music all the time when I write. If you know, if I'm writing a scene and I have a song in mind, I'll always listen to that song, whether it's while I'm writing or in the car. It just really feeds my process, and really gives me a great thematic or tonal sense of perhaps what the scene is. So great questions. Keep them coming. We have a great behind the scenes this week. It's Chris Reed who plays Filthy Phil. A really sweet interview. If you haven't watched that, you should. And keep the questions coming. Season 4. I just finished in post on the first episode, and Paris Barclay, kick-ass job. I think you guys are going to dig it. So we'll keep you posted. Thanks.